Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So it's bright and early, Sunday morning. Let's get into our Warriors group. For those of you that are new to the channel, welcome. I do a Warriors group every Sunday, a little study group. And I take 6 points, try to get through them all, quotes, ideas that I pull from my morning study, and we just go through them from my perspective. I like to get your guys' input on this stuff. If you have any points, or if you think that I missed something or you want to add something, definitely feel free to add it in the comments. Let's just get into it. I got a lot to go through. I don't know if we'll get through it all. The first one is fix stuff with people while they're living. Fix stuff with people while they're living. Very often we can put off conversations that we should have had, put them off inevitably. We have friends that maybe we've lost touch with that we could easily reconnect with. Maybe there's family members that we don't necessarily vibe with, that we could easily talk to more and understand better. Maybe there's people that we have had falling outs with where just a simple conversation could fix that misunderstanding. I've spent a lot of time talking to ghosts in my head, trying to have these conversations, fixing things with dead people. It doesn't work. They don't usually answer back. It just adds to your suffering. My own father was one of them. There were conversations that I probably should have had, could have had, put off having. And then when he died, he got murdered. I was shit out of luck. Those conversations can never happen now. I'll never have the answers. I'll never be able to express myself. That can kind of burn a hole in your heart. And you add up enough of those where people have left in your life, they've died. I've had a lot of people die in my life, and a lot of them I didn't say the proper things to. So fix stuff with people while they're alive. Let's go to the next one. Decisions have consequences. I mean, that's obvious, we all know that. Decisions have consequences. So instead of going around blaming everybody else, you want to blame yourself. We can often play the victim in our lives and think that everything that happens to me instead of because of me. Most of the time, things that happen to you are your own choice. You draw it forward. Remember those books? Maybe you're too young, but when I was a kid, we had these books they were choose your own adventure books, and you could read a page or two, and then at the end of the page it would say, if you want to continue this path, go to this page, and if you want to go to this, do this choice, because they would always give you a choice of what to do, and it was an adventure. So then you would go to page 38 because you want to continue on this path, and next thing you know, your character's dead. And you'd have to start over, and if you choose a different choice, then you could keep going in the book, and if you're lucky enough, your character can live all the way to the end of the story. We're all kind of playing that, except for we like to blame somebody else. I do. I like to blame society, blame oppression, blame my traumas that other people inflicted upon me because I was such an innocent little kid who didn't deserve it. This is the narrative I tell myself. And that's why I was a drug addict. That's why I was homeless. That's why I became a criminal, because I didn't have a father, so it was his fault, not mine. Not that there are other boys out there who didn't have fathers who didn't become criminals. I mean, maybe there's one. There might be one in the world somewhere. One kid who didn't have a father, who came from a broken home, but he didn't become a criminal. I make it out to be like, that's the way it has to be. You don't have a father, you're definitely going to be a fucked up loser. I was, so that's the way it is. We have to start blaming ourselves. We have to start taking responsibility. It's one of the most difficult topics I talk about with people is personal responsibility. It's like putting your fingernails down a chalkboard. When I start talking about this with people, especially people who've gone through the ringer, who've been through a lot of trauma like I have, they hate it. Another one that people hate when I talk about in those same types of conversations is forgiveness. Those two topics are the hardest topics for men to deal with. You have to look within. Let's go to the next one. I want to make sure we get through all these. God is always on the side of the oppressed. All right, let me read that again, because some of these people out there sitting there scratching their heads. Some of you guys, I just lost a couple of you. God is always on the side of the oppressed. So don't forget where you come from. You may live a rather good life now, but don't forget the streets that made you. I have to remind myself of this. I can watch the news and I find myself going on the side of the government against the people. I found myself doing this not too long ago in a political issue. I won't get into it. And I was firmly on the side of the government, thinking that the people were wrong. It's the government who's right. When you find yourself going against the oppressed, going against the masses, you're on the wrong side. Don't forget where you came from. Let's go to the next one. How do you break a family curse? Man, that's a tough question, huh? How do you break a family curse? My family on my father's side have all been criminals. That's what this, if you can see this coat of arms, that's for the Blood family. My father's last name was Blood. They're from England. Originally from Ireland, and then they went to England, and then they got kicked out of England because one of my relatives, the ancestors, I guess, back in the 1700s, tried to steal the royal crown jewels out of the Tower of London, I guess is where they used to keep them, or where they were keeping them. Wherever they were keeping them, that's where they tried to steal them from. Failed. They also tried to kidnap the Duke of Ormond. Failed attempt. Instead of getting his head chopped off and put in prison or whatever, they put in the dungeon, the King of England just kicked him out of England. So then he became the notorious pirate, Captain Blood. Murderous pirate. I have every single man in my family, literally everyone, my grandfather, my father, and me, every man in my family has been a criminal. Every single one of them. I'm the last one. I have no kids. When I die, the Blood family, my strain of the Blood family is dead. I'm the last. And I'm breaking the curse. I'm breaking it by doing shit like this, mind, body, and soul, studying every day. Let's go to the next one. You go nowhere by yourself. I mean, we often like to think that we trod this path alone. And some of us, myself included, I like to pride myself on how much I've done by myself. But when I start bragging about that kind of shit to people, about how accomplished I am and how I've done everything by myself, people pop their heads up and say, well, wait a minute. If I start talking about how I dragged myself off the streets, I pulled myself up by my own bootstraps, which has always been a confusing metaphor. Go try that. Put your boots on and try to pull yourself up off the ground by your own bootstraps. Try it. It's a saying, it's a phrase, try it. It's difficult. But then we say it to people that are homeless, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, buddy. Like, that's so easy to do. They need to change the metaphor, that's all I'm saying. But I like to brag that I did that. I got off the streets, I hustled my way, I have no help. And somebody could say, like my brother could easily say, well, you say you had no help, but I let you come live at my house. I mean, that's help. Let you come live at my house for rent free. So that's help. You know, I mean, you go nowhere truly alone. We always have help, and you can always find help. And don't be afraid to find help. It's weird how guys don't like to ask for directions. You'll use your GPS. What's the difference? Let's just go on to the next one because we're going to run out of time. I don't like to make these videos too long. I could talk about each one of these topics for an hour. I just want to bring these up, dip a little bit into it, just give you a little taste of each one so then you can have something to think about for the day. I wrote this last one down without really even understanding it. And sometimes I do that, so we'll have to hash it out together. I just thought it was interesting. I wrote it, I heard it, I was in the other room, I was listening to a podcast, and a guy said, sons are talking when fathers are speaking. That's a problem. Sons are talking when fathers are speaking. Boys are speaking at the same time that wise men are talking. Boys need to shut the fuck up, right? You need to keep your fucking mouth shut for a little bit. Sometimes people need to just relax. I know what it's like. When I was 20, I thought I was the king of the world. I was George Thorogood. I was bad to the bone. I was just too slick. Water couldn't even get me wet. I knew everything. When I was 30, I was a tyrant. At 20, I already thought I was the shit. By the time I got 30, 10 years later, I was borderline supervillain status, a psychopath. I look back on myself at that time, now that I'm 50 and I'm calmed down, I've changed my life. And I just laugh. If I could go, I mean, it's impossible, right? But if I could go back in time and pull myself aside, a younger version of me, I would just be like, look, dude, you talk too much when other motherfuckers are talking. You think you know too much when there's other people in the room that know more. And this is the way I take this. Sons are talking when fathers are speaking. So I kind of take that as there's a lot of chatter by a lot of ignorance going on right now in our society. It feels like that politically, socially, culturally, with this cancel culture movement, political correctness, there's a lot of areas that it feels like it's being driven by a younger mind that is naive and less wise, that older, wiser voices aren't being heard. They've turned into murmurs in the background when the only voices we hear are these loud voices of ignorance and foolishness, telling us how to think and what to do. Leading the way in tech, in politics, in media, in all these different areas, these young boys with their little vision of how the world should be. And it feels to me, as an older guy, that the hierarchy is being flipped on its head. The tribe should be run by the wise leaders, not the young, impetuous warriors. I don't know. Tell me how you take that. Sons are talking when fathers are speaking. Have a good Sunday.